actual next steps? What would you like to see? What should we all sort of collectively try to figure out and say, this is what we think should happen?
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Sorry, I wasn't introduced. My name is Go Wiodera. There are a couple of things we need to be able to recognize, James, what we are up against in this movement. One is that the president, as real colors have come out, even in his campaign, we need to recognize that a leopard does not change its spots. In the early 90s, when we were doing our clamor, we were here in Ufungamano, he wasn't here. He was part of YK2. And they were the part of our generation that were co-opted by Moi with money. When we were doing the constitution and clamor for constitution, he voted no. In fact, he said that ni kama karatasi ya kufunga nyama. So constitutionalism is not part and parcel of those who are in office. So that is what we are up against. The second thing what we're up against is a culture, all right? A culture that does not necessarily value hard work and a meritocracy in itself. So Gen Z are trying to say, we are putting in all this effort to get what we want. Now we are seeing people wakivuka line and getting there without even earning what they are. And lastly, I think a thing that we have, and the panelists have said, is accountability. And I think those are the three things we need to continue championing moving forward. What Gen Z, I'd like to be able to encourage this group of young people, this generation of young people, is recognize that this is actually a marathon. This is not a sprint. And so there are certain gains we need to make. And I think there's somewhere we need to celebrate what we have gained these past 3 weeks. And we need to celebrate that. In as much as some of our comrades have fallen, we need to celebrate this. This is a great thing, that a government can withdraw a finance bill is a big accomplishment that I'd like to celebrate what these young people have done. It is something I am proud of you. We are proud of you. And you've done something my own generation was not courageous as you to do. And you have taken this to another level.
So just to your point, as I come back to this, there's two problems here that we have to contend with. There is the question of dialogue that keeps being bandied about. I want you to speak about this question of dialogue. And then at the tail end of this process, it's a political process. So there has to be a reasoning on how the public engages politically, because those changes have to happen in a political construct where the politicians have the experience more than anyone else.
So the issue of dialogue is who is dialoguing. So the referee cannot be the player. James, the referee can't be the player. And so you don't have the credibility. Now, the institution that I am part of, the church, has lost its credibility too. Yeah. When we were supposed to be doing what we are supposed to be doing, we were sitting in State House. So we've lost the credibility too. So there needs to be another umpire, another person doing this. We can learn from others. We're not the first ones to do this. So there are other actors that can come and do it. And secondly, James, it can't be a political process alone. Yes, we understand there are political processes that have to be happen, but there's also a place where we need to talk about the economics of this dialogue. We also need to talk about, and very big, is just the philosophy of how we do it. So we cannot give it to the politicians. We left the politicians to do the final putting together of our constitution. And look what they gave us. So we can't trust the politicians. We can't. And I tell you guys, don't trust the politicians. We can't leave it alone to them. In as much as they are players, it has to be a collaborative effort.
Right. the question of how not leaving this to politicians then become an important question. There's hyper, right now, engagement. Every citizen is engaged with every document that comes from State House, that comes from, government. But that's, in all honesty, is one thing that keeps them accountable. But at some point, as they say, people will be like, I have other things to do, as Nadia says. I need to go sell my tomatoes. I can't be every day on a space for 8 hours, right? That is my job. So walk me through this question of what part of engagement should we be talking about and accountability, and how does that look like so that we keep this process alive to make sure that we all don't lose our time and also don't get fatigued with the process?
I think one thing we need to appreciate, there was Goldenberg some time back. Let me start there. A report was prepared. People had a lot of discussions. We saw a lot of parading of people. Then that dwindled. We saw Anglo-Rising came. People ate public money. They could not be held accountable. Then that disappeared. People like, there was a Ndongo report on land justice. Nothing came out of it. TGR, the Commission on Justice and Reconciliation, there was a report about that. Nothing ever done about it. Until people are now tired. And what we are saying is, we want to see full implementation. And because we know some of these people cannot be able to do that for the obvious reasons that they don't believe in the Constitution itself. And it's very unfortunate, even the church took a position of fighting the Constitution, a very dangerous route in 2010. We need to, those who cannot do their job, they step aside and they allow those who can do the job to take over and steer this country in full implementation of our Constitution. Because some of these things, they don't need to remind the president that every child needs education. When the government was being formed in 1963, there were three things: poverty, diseases, and ignorance. Our education system still affordable, and the people are able to go to school? No. Do our hospitals still providing medicines? You find 8 counties are lacking medicine for BCG, for tuberculosis vaccination to children. We are exposing them, and someone has money where he can walk into a fundraiser and give the same money to the church. I always wonder what this project in the church that never ends, and we attend the same churches. And so you go to that issue, the issue of poverty, ignorance, and the other one is, I don't know. The education, we have ignorance, we have diseases, yes, and we have poverty. How many Kenyans are living below $1 a day income? Most Kenyans are, that's why they are online. That's why you find them on login the whole day, because what else will I be doing? Moving around. Myself, before I got an internship as an advocate, I remember I dropped 36 CVs in the city of Nairobi. And all the advocates will tell you, we'll pick you, but we can't be able to sustain you. Advocates are struggling. Doctors, we saw them, they are struggling. Those careers that all parents wished their children to become, you can imagine they are struggling. So what happens to the other Kenyan? It shows you that we need to get serious. We have talked about progressive realization of the socioeconomic rights. Have we seen the government put in place steps that are geared towards realizing this? Deliberate steps. So we don't just talk about progressive realization. Progressive realization has a cutout that, are you putting up measures? We talked about two-third gender role. Up to date, they have not done anything. Justice Maraga reminded us before he left the office about that issue. No one has taken action about it. So what we need is not dialogue, it is action. I think that is what the leadership need to know, that we have talked too much. We need to see, I don't need to remind the member of parliament that I am telling you I don't want an extra tax. I want you to be accountable about that. I don't remind the member of parliament that I am paying you a salary of almost 1 million shillings, then I pay you allowance to attend your plenary. Who pays us to attend plenary? And you have a salary. Who pays you to attend a committee of the job you are employed to do by the people? What makes them so scared that once they get elected, they need 10 bodyguards? What are they doing wrong? They know it. And that's what we want them to address.
Okay. Nadia, you raised an important question the last time about the role of creative, and and we've seen what the creatives have been able to do for this